This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Live from Pete's Timeout in the heart of Times Square, you're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio for Saturday, October the 8th. We are broadcasting live from the Crown Plaza Hotel in the Bell Tower with our guest, Mayor Holly Smith from Sanibel. And before we talk about what's going on in Sanibel, we want to let you know that you can still donate to the fund. Last night, we were at $164,000-ish. So you can PayPal to @Beach Talk Radio. You can Venmo to Edward-Ryan-14, or you can Zelle to the phone number 239-247-3833. We are going to have a show again tonight at 6 o'clock. You probably saw some of the video from this morning. So we're going to talk about that later on this evening. So keep the donations going. And as you saw in the video on the way over to the hotel, we need backpacks now so that the folks that are heading up over the bridge have something to carry their stuff back. They were doing like bags and they were kind of making backpacks. But if we can get some donations of backpacks to the crowd tomorrow, that would be great. And they appreciated the gloves and the protein bars and the baby wipes and all that. So
the gloves were a big hit. So
Yeah.
those work gloves, anyone donates those, keep donating those. They definitely need work gloves. I will say that I stopped at the Kiwanis this morning, and they're really stocked with clothes. Adult clothes for sure. And so they would appreciate actually people that are interested to volunteer down there, and we can get the information out to them. And I did see Brian from Shuckers.
Yeah.
And he's moving his place to off of Summerlin and St. Carlos Boulevard, I believe. And they need kids' clothes. So
And they're
no more adult clothes is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Kids' clothes.
All righty. So our guest this morning is Mayor Holly Smith. And Mayor, thank you so much for your time. And, coming in through the hotel here, nothing but organization. The thing was totally organized when you walked through the door here. First, tell us how the storm affected you, how it impacted you and your family.
Well, my family is all a Sanibel. So you've seen that when you get on the ground, you'll see the devastation and what we have ahead of us even more closely. But we will overcome that. It's going to take some time. Thanks for asking about my family. Before I answer that, I just want to thank both of you guys. I've been watching what you've been doing, just listening to the backpacks. I mean, I've got a sling bag. You do. These are important things. In addition, I can tell you from being out on the island, eye protection, walking sticks, don't go on with sneakers. I mean, keep yourself away from the water, because the water is a dangerous condition right now, and people are quickly going to get infections.
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen. So thank you. I can tell you from experience, what we've been facing, and anything I can do to help get more information to help you guys and the people that are trying to get there. My family, my son's in Colorado. My son Peyton, he's safe, wants to get here. My son Zane is here. His home was impacted. He's not on Sanibel. My husband got on the first day, as everybody else did, on Wednesday. We have a piling home, and certainly our lower level, it wasn't finished, but we had about 8 feet of water in the lower level. We're mid-island.
Wow.
Our roof was penetrated. Our master bedroom has a hole. We are like everyone else. We're going to be working on the damage, but we're gonna be okay. I mean, hopefully our house will be able to be salvaged, and we'll keep moving forward.
So when you knew the storm was wobbling and not going to Tampa, like those hours where it was like, it might affect us more than we thought. How did you start your emergency plan? How did you start putting that into place? I mean, right away you knew you were going to be here at the hotel, so you obviously had that already planned, like is part of some kind of plan. Kind of tell us how you have a plan in place for an emergency like this.
Well, we always have an emergency operation plan in place. That's what we have to do on a barrier island. For this particular storm, we start watching storms when they're called an invest.
Right.
So those are being followed as soon as it's a trickle, and then followed very closely. We had stakeholder meetings when we have our hurricane preparedness meetings for the public.
Yeah.
We also have that for staff, and all of the stakeholders around Lee County that are going to be working with us come to those meetings. And, I'm not going to name them all because I can't. The nonprofits, the utilities, our departments. It is a full-on preparation for an upcoming hurricane season. Right. Certainly, we hope we're never going to have to put that in action. This time, the perfect storm hit for everything we never wanted to see. And then moving forward, as it got closer and closer, we started putting out those warnings on our city page. You can go back and you can see those, what we're advising. Get your hurricane kit, get your hurricane passes. Every step of the way, we're trying to prepare our greater audience, which is our community that lives there,
Mhm.
and our community around the world that doesn't live there but might have property on there of the steps that can be taken. This storm, you guys were here for Charlie. This storm had that impact where it changed. I think we've got more technology certainly than we did 5 years ago. I learned a lot more on some of the apps. I become very familiar with Windy. I mean, I live during the storm
Right.
on Windy. That was what I was looking at to give information to people on the island to let them know where the eye was. Our preparation is key. And I think that is probably part of what got most of the people off of the island. And then we had to do our voluntary evacuation. So remember on Sunday, we still thought it was going to Tampa.
Right.
I called, one of my good friends who was a mayor in Oldsmar, and I said, Dan, I'm there for you. We're there for you. Let us know what we can do if it comes your way.
Mhm.
We know 2 days out, things can shift as
Yep.
well. And look what happened. So we called our meeting, as you know, our voluntary evacuation. We had to wait for the county to make sure that they were able to get shelters open. If you have a mandatory evacuation, you need a place for people to be able to go.
Mhm.
And so that was called on Tuesday morning.
Right.
That
Early
went into
Tuesday
effect.
morning. Yep. Yep.
And then that's when our mandatory evacuation, of course, went into effect. Unfortunately, we did have significant numbers of people that did choose to stay.
What's the number that you estimate?
Well, we know the verified amount is over 1,000 verified. And we don't know by other means who might have evacuated from people coming to get them or chopper lifts or things that we
Right.
don't get the information. And remember, that's just for the city of Sanibel. Captiva is Lee County, so that documentation would be under unincorporated.
So
Lee
you had
County.
go
Wait
ahead.
a minute. You mentioned, Charlie. How did this differ for you guys from Charlie? How did Ian differ for you guys?
So with Charlie, we didn't have the storm surge. It bumped though. If you remember that day, it bumped. It bumped away a little bit away from us and went through North Captiva. But a lot of what we were dealing with Charlie was the debris. We had Australian pines. Those were cleared after Charlie. So we were 7 days off island due to Charlie. And we had a bridge. Okay.
Right.
It's really important to understand that we had a bridge. So trucks could get on and off with those debris, cutting, making paths. But a lot of it was the debris falling, not the surge. And also with Charlie, I've seen the pictures, and if they're true, Charlie fit in the eye.
Right.
Right.
And so I can't verify any of that. I'm still in my bubble of just working with the city and getting those plans together. This storm was massive.
Yep.
When I spoke to one of the president's aides, they said this potentially is in the top 3 of natural disasters that have hit the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Top 3. Think about that.
Yeah.
So it differed quite a bit. And now we're dealing with not having a bridge. Although Army Corps is there, they are rolling. I saw trucks on the A-span. So, and our storm surge, we had a washover island-wide. Island-wide. A washover is when the whole island is covered by water. So this is the most significant thing that
Have you seen pictures of that yet? Have you seen pictures of the island completely underwater?
No, I'm
Wow.
not sure that we're going to have that documentation because all the cameras went out.
Yeah.
We don't have somebody that was flying during the storm.
I wonder if
We
some
can-
spy agency's got some satellite footage of that. You think that's going to come up?
You let me know if they do, okay? And can you send that to us?
So you said 1,000. You think 1,000 people. You're verified 1,000 people stayed. Now you can't get over the bridge, so you have to verify they're alive, or you have
Well,
to?
let me clarify.
Okay.
Those are the ones that evacuated after the storm. So they got to safety. We had the day after the storm, we went into our urban search and rescue. So that was our phase one.
Who did that?
Well, that was in coordination with the Sanibel Captiva Fire District. They are their own taxing district,
Mhm.
their own separate taxing district. So they brought in their resources called USAR.
Mhm.
And what was really interesting about USAR, so they are in there for urban search and rescue. But what they also did that we were not aware of, but found out, and this was phenomenal because it did not duplicate some efforts. They went house to house looking at structures, just a visual outside, so they could document. And you can go to LeagueGov and see all through the county what the houses were affected with. You can key in Sanibel. So that helped us in time wise, because then we didn't have to activate our structural safety. They did for a day, but what USAR was able to do saved us precious days
Right.
as we're moving
I
forward.
think if you go on that website, you can see like X number destroyed, X number, damaged, and then there's a whole like one of those color coded charts that you can see.
And if I could talk to that, Ed,
Yeah.
because we want people to be very careful, because the colors of the dots, I mean, just know if it's yellow and it says minor damage, those are exterior only looks. Okay. And so when you go back in, it might not reflect that that home had 8 to 10 feet of water
Right.
in it for 10 to 12 hours. So just, it's hard for people to prepare for
Mhm.
what they're not prepared for when they get out to the island. But we're going to have a lot of success stories as well.
Yeah. So you
And-
said how many people? How many people were left on the island after the storm?
Well, we're never going to have a straight count on that. There are still people that have they've chosen to stay.
Mhm.
They're at their they're working on what they need to do, but we can't we cannot
Right.
make them leave. I understand that those are their properties, so we got as many as off as we could, and I can tell you saw many faces that I knew, and the looks on their faces are like, I can't go back right now. What they went through, I can't even imagine. Even as I was talking to many of them during the day, as I was here safe at this hotel.
So USAR goes in.
Yep.
And how long did it take them to sweep the island and search? Did they search from house to house to make sure people were either alive or not alive? And how long did that take?
So what their job was is first an exterior. They're not going into a property.
Mhm.
They're doing an exterior evaluation and also finding people that do need to be evacuated, the ones that were coming
Right.
out. So we had boots on the ground Thursday morning. And remember, the tropical storm winds just ended Thursday,
Right.
very wee hours of the morning.
Mhm.
Boots on the ground Thursday morning. They had their first initial search done, 100%. Every property on this island. They had to see every property
Right.
Monday evening. So
And how
then,
many properties is that about? Do you have an idea?
that's I'm going to say about 6,000, 6,500.
So it sounds like you had a bunch of teams in there then. Quite a few
Oh.
number. Like how many people do you think made up that search?
I don't have the numbers on the
Okay.
urban search and rescue. They come from all over.
Sure.
They go
Mhm.
for all over to the
Right.
emergencies around the country. But if I could, I also want to speak to the heroes that always need to be brought to the forefront, and that's our staff. So they were out there, boots on the ground on Thursday. Public Works was out there clearing roads. The police department was out there in full force. Between our police department, Public Works, and that urban search and rescue, they were handling everything on their own to clear up our roads, get it ready, as much as they could for that next wave to come in. So heroes all, and I've got to give this shout out because he's a humble man. The work that Dana Souza, our city manager, is doing is second to none. And I
He's
can't
definitely out
emphasize
there
that
being
enough.
a leader for sure.
He
So
is,
how
he
many
is.
do you know
And
have?
so that urban search and rescue was going on Thursday in those days while those 1,000 residents were in the process of, I mean, they were there and they were in the process of being taken off. Is that correct?
Getting
Okay.
away. We had
So they
crews,
kind of were doing a double prong.
They
effort.
were, and we
Mhm.
had crews, evacuating. The Adventures in Paradise was working with their fleet to
Mhm.
get people on and off. It was
Yeah,
it
we
was
saw
something to see.
pictures of people being, lifted up in the baskets and the
Ma-
whole nine.
Yeah. So what they look for is they did well-being checks. So are you okay? Do you have supplies? And then they kept going to the next property. Is there a critical need there? Is there an injury? It was meticulous. And now they are going through their second wave. So now we have to go the second wave.
Now they're going through the second wave.
Second
Yeah.
wave.
While you're allowing people to return to their properties.
Yes, the second wave is looking for people that might not have gotten out. So they've got to go through, say it's clear.
Right, but
if there's
I
any
guess
concerns.
how are you able to coordinate it where those two things are going on at the same time? You got people that want to go back to their property. Some of them are bringing insurance adjusters, from what I understand.
They are.
And there's still a search and rescue. It's so you're able to do both things at the same time.
Yeah.
How?
Well, it's organization. It's coordination. It's people understanding when they're going to their property, what's expected of them. We want people to be able to get to their property safely. They've got to start assessing what their damage is. If there's an opportunity and window to save their homes.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of people out there. They've heeded the warnings because we have made it very clear it's extremely unsafe to be there.
Right.
And many of them have seen in the locations along West Gulf, Middle Gulf, East Gulf, that they see that maybe it's not the best time for them to go out, and they realize that property they can't get into. So it's working hand in hand, but realizing our citizens need to get out there, want to get out there. We're calling it a look and leave. It's from
Mhm.
7 in the morning until 7 at night. It's a boating access that they have to provide. And now, we've been asked, can you get me a taxi when I get on the island? So, and bless their hearts, because
Like
this
an
is,
automobile taxi?
yeah, I
Oh,
mean, it's just
yeah.
not an understanding
of how
of the massive
Mhm, mhm.
destruction that's out
Right.
there. This is a military
Mhm.
mission right now. It's being handled like a military mission. The organization is key, and it comes from so many agencies that are working together right now. First, it was our people. It was our people on the ground that got it
How
ready.
many of you did the whole police department stay on
Oh,
island?
no.
Yeah.
We make it very clear when it's a mandatory evacuation,
You're on
It's
your
all
own.
everybody.
services are leaving.
Everybody made that
All
clear. Every
services are leaving.
municipality, the county, the sheriff,
And
everybody's
so how
making that
quickly
clear.
were they able to get back on?
Oh,
Police.
they were boots on the ground, probably
On Thursday?
Thursday morning,
Okay.
as soon as it was safe to get over there.
So how many people do you know have passed away from?
Right now, we have a count of 4 fatalities. And when we look at and those fatalities to those family members, that's
Mhm.
100% to them. And
Right.
I
Mhm.
grieve for them. And I'm so sorry to say that. Looking at what we've seen and what's out on this island, it's miraculous
Yeah,
to me.
that it's only 4.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you put this plan into effect. Like, you were here, you were automatically on Facebook, and you were doing meetings, and even in the first meeting that you had residents that were in the audience. First of all, how did you get past the sunshine laws? Is it because there's a state of emergency where you don't have to worry about it, or are you just like, screw it, we're doing this?
No, so we're not having meetings. So the one meeting we had was Monday night. Monday night, we had to have our budget meeting. What these are news briefings. You're not seeing any of us vote on anything.
I see.
So, and I am up there talking. Then Dana will get up, and he is it's so critical that
Yeah.
that information.
Mhm.
Look, we didn't get information out on Thursday, the day after the storm, and we're sorry about
Dana was
that.
apologizing in the
And
first meeting. Like,
he
I'm sorry I
did.
didn't get it. You
So-
guys are machines when it comes to the emails and the information. There's no doubt about it. And he was apologizing, and I was like, the guy's apologizing. Like, there was just a major
been a
storm that
day.
came
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
It's not like he caused the storm, but
No, but you know what? Then we committed every day, even if we have to get up there and say, you know what? We don't have any news for today. No, we don't have that. You can listen every night, and you're going to know just what's going on, what we're doing, what hopefully the next action is. So people are aware. They have to be. This is our community.
Mhm.
This is our home.
Mhm.
Sanibel's always going to be our home, and we want to get people back on there, understand what's going on, understanding the complexities that we are dealing with this storm. we ask for patience, and that's the toughest word to have. And
Right.
and I'm not, now is the time to get those people back on to start to get their home. But the information is key. I don't think we can give enough of it, although we're trying as much as we can. There's always more. That's why I'm here. There's more to tell.
So the rule is, even though there's a quorum of the full council, I mean, every single council member was there, at least the ones that I saw at the beginning. You don't have to worry about that because it's called a news briefing, and
It's
that's
a
okay.
news briefing. We are not having any discussion on policy.
Right.
It's an update. And, now the council members, I mean, they're out at their properties too. And
Got
we
it.
know, hey, we
Mhm.
don't all have to be there. If we're here, fine. If not, our leader, Dana Souza, is going to make sure everybody knows about it, and then bring in more people. Insurance, so what we're going to be looking at next is who we can bring in to give these updates.
Right.
But we need all of those people doing the job that they need to do first and foremost before we bring them in to give updates.
So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna get off that topic for a minute, so I don't want to distract you.
So your plan now, you have what? I was reading some of the stuff that Dana was talking about last night, like your air dropping stuff in, and you have water osmosis thingamajigs going on, and you have all these different elements that you're putting in place to turn the lights back on and turn the power back on and turn the whole
Water.
island back on. Tell us where you are in those different phases.
That's a little bit, I'll do the best I can.
Okay.
So LCEC, I believe, brought, and please don't quote me on these
Right.
numbers.
There's nobody watching. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know it's your show. And I know these two very well. So I have great respect for both of you. LCEC, the barges, I mean, it was like storming of a war zone when I went to see the barge coming on, bringing LCEC got on. When you asked about what they're airdropping the utility poles. So they're doing that by airdrop. The governor saw and knew, power is extremely important.
Right.
It's going to be a while. Our grid, it's gone. Our grid is going to be building back. Secretary Hamilton called me yesterday. I knew a couple of days ago.
Secretary of
Hamilton
what?
DEP for the state of Florida.
Gotcha.
They're all at the ops, and they are in such constant communication with us. They were sending teams out to start to look at those water issues, and that's a little bit more technical than I can speak to. See what's working, see what those next steps are, and then it's like, okay, the logistics of where we go next. So that's all being coordinated.
What about the sewer? Is that what he's taking care
And
of?
we're working on that too.
Yeah.
And they're doing all of the tests on the sewer plant, what can be working. I mean, it's a full scale military operation. And Dana would be able to speak to that much more clearly and eloquently than I certainly can.
So is your plan to continue to do these nightly updates as long as it takes?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you looks like you're on the computer looking at the comments, and if there's a question that comes up from the residents, you're answering it that way, and there's people in the audience, because what we see here is like an operations center. You've got people coming in from residents coming in doing stuff. I mean, what are you doing with the people here? What are they doing?
So what's happening? We set up an information desk right in the front of this lobby.
Yeah.
Because this is our central ops for right now. We contracted for this a long time ago. We have for several hurricane seasons. So they're getting questions or saying, what are the needs? And then we're getting that fed to us saying, okay, this is a new question we need to answer. If you want to ask a question, you can do it to citymanager@mysanibel.com. And we're getting those questions, volunteers, contractors, just trying to funnel it through in a central location and then filter it through to everybody else to see what the needs are. So it's social media, it's in person, it's via email. I have hundreds of calls, hundreds of texts, and I'm doing my best to try to answer everyone, especially, those that residents. Let's remember, when people think about Sanibel.
That was my next question.
Then I'm going to let you ask that question.
No, just that, what are the needs of the folks? Because there's a variety of folks out there, and what needs do they have?
I don't even, the needs are soup to nuts right now. The needs are right now helping them get their home. Well, and this isn't a volunteer thing. So this is a later part. What their needs are is getting out to those islands, getting the adjusters out there, being able to save their homes. But what I wanted to touch on, if you don't mind, Kim, because I think this is important, people look at Sanibel and they think that it is this very elite island. And yet we are very fortunate. We have amazing people that live on this island. Let's remember the majority of the people on our island, the average age is 68. They might have bought these houses 20, 30 years ago. This is where their bucket list to be.
Mhm.
They are not people of high means.
Right.
And our insurance crisis is going to be shown on this island because, if you've got a flood insurance and the cap is 250, we know what costs are to build right now. It's not going to touch it.
Mhm.
So the needs are great. The needs are through the spectrum. And that's what we are working on right now to try to get them out, assess what those needs are for those next steps. The adjusters are already starting to get out there. Saw one on a bicycle, he had his little device and, there's not even road signs and they're doing
Right,
everyone.
right.
is
Who's on his
doing-
bicycle?
One of the adjusters.
That's all we have. So you
Insurance
can pick up a
adjusters.
bike.
Yeah.
Do you have like
You-
a drop off point where you put people and there's a whole big
People just
box of bikes?
just
drop and go.
Yeah. Sort of
Nice.
like Nashville. You just pick one up and
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Billy's
They wearing
bikes.
helmets? Are they wearing helmets?
Oh,
They
please.
better be wearing helmets because there's a lot of debris out there.
But the other thing too is
I actually thought about a helmet because that mud is.
You should wear a helmet all the
glass.
time, Holly,
Yeah.
no matter when you're on a
I'm
bike.
talking walking out
Oh,
there. No, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because the mud is like a skating rink.
well, and some of those limbs might just be holding on by a thread. You know,
And wildlife.
Right. And the other thing too is there's a lot of, there's hotels, there's restaurants out there. There's a community that provides services in terms of restaurant service and hotel staff that also have needs as well, that are not of great means. And this has been devastating to them.
They are displaced and they
Mhm.
will be displaced. I don't know of any structure that's going to be habitable.
Right.
I just wanted to update anyone watching from Fort
Any
Myers
structure?
Beach.
Well, I just mean
Oh.
for the short
Short term.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What we're really going to need to do too is, once we can get people out there and safely, if they choose to live there, I mean, this is our community. We want to get back to it. We want to do it when it's safe. We want to do it when there's a water suppression that we can get fire. Fire is an issue,
Mhm.
with the generators. I know I talked to the chief and he saw a generator, heard a generator, close garage on.
Oh boy.
And the generator,
Nobody got hurt? Okay.
no, but I'm just saying we've got
The
to
potential is
reteach
there.
people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we also understand for the majority, people know what they're doing. We need to give them the opportunity to get out there, be on the island. And I think it's, for us, it's also neighbors watching out for neighbors. If you've
Right.
got somebody there and we're going to get there and I hope we get there sooner than later, but it is going to be primitive. There is not going to be water. There is not going to be sewer. It's going to be very primitive conditions that people.
It's like camping in the wild. And
It is.
I
No,
heard
it
Dana. I
absolutely
heard
is.
Dana say the alligators are out of there. Of course, they're all discombobulated, so they're seeing
Yeah.
alligators are in the neighborhoods, and so
Everything is displaced right now.
Yeah.
The island is really not recognizable to what we all knew. It will be again, and
Yeah.
we're going to have the opportunity to watch the world watch this island redevelop to be one of the most amazing places
Yeah.
in the world that we knew it already was.
I was thinking
It's long term.
the last
It
time,
is.
this is weird and probably creepy. The last time
Right.
we interviewed you, like a sit down interview, was at the Island Cow,
I remember.
which burned down, I don't know, 3 months ago. And that now we're talking about this crazy storm that took the rest of the island with it, and Fort Myers Beach too. And for those that are watching that are kind of keeping an eye on Fort Myers Beach, the fire chief just texted that he's having a press conference at 11:30 at the base of the bridge. I have my ID today, so hopefully I'll get past the checkpoint. And I don't know if they have internet service that close, so I don't know if I can carry it live, but I'll have it recorded. Fire Chief Ron Martin at 11:30 for a press conference at the base of the bridge on Fort Myers Beach. So
Can I say something?
yes, go
real
right
quick?
ahead.
And thank you because you keyed something to me. The passes. So we have residential passes, we have business passes, there's zone passes. We've just enacted passes that are other and what those are going to include. I know it's for the insurance adjusters now, but I'm sure we'll have another type of pass for contractors to
Contractors,
come
yeah.
back on. That's very important to know. If you do not have a pass, you will not be able to be allowed on the island. You will be escorted off the island.
As you
That's
should
what
be.
those passes are for. And when somebody comes on with their pass and they have people to work with them, as long as they're with that person, they're
Yeah.
supposed to be going to that property. So thank you for saying something about passes, because I don't want anybody to think the island is open for
Right.
anyone, and it is very well protected right now.
When you saw the first pictures of the Sanibel Causeway breached in 5 places, did you think, I could never believe that could happen?
So I'll tell you when I saw it. I saw it Thursday morning at probably 5 in the morning.
Wow.
So, and it was in this lobby, and somebody came up to me and showed me the Tampa Bay,
Yeah,
That's where it started. Yeah.
and I had not seen it yet.
Right.
And I said, I'm sorry, I can't verify that, so I
Right.
can't make any comment.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of it, went right up to, we've all been running 24 hours.
Right.
We're getting the sleep, but just realize we're all in all the time. I went up, showed it, and we're just, in operations, and it's like, no,
This can't be. Yeah.
And then,
How could that
then
happen?
we got the flyover, and it was verified, and it was stunning to us because, it was always said, if you don't have access to the bridge, what's on the other side? And we found out what, the perfect storm of everything we never wanted to see happen. But on the bridge, when I was with Governor DeSantis, he said, you know what? 30 days. We're going to get that bridge completed by the end of October. Temporary fix.
Oh, okay.
So it's very primitive as well. And I went with him to see Matt Lachey and to see that bridge when it opened up. So that is what they're doing. What we're just trying to do right now is that temporary fix to get over the bridge. When I was on the water yesterday heading to the island, and I saw those trucks going over the A span and filling it in, and I saw things being dropped on the B span, heavy machinery.
What do they drop? Machines to fix it?
Oh yeah. They are charging through. I felt like there should be music blaring.
There should
from the
be
top.
there should be some kind of footage of that so we can see it.
Oh,
there
I've got
is.
it on. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
I'll drop it.
So
yeah.
can
that'd be
that
good.
bridge be repaired, or does it need to be replaced?
Well, that's going to be up to the engineers. The engineers, that's the county's end.
Yeah.
So that's going to have to be fully assessed. Contracts have already been signed, but what we needed to do was to get access to the island, and that's what we've been committed to. And I think that we're going to see it happen. What I've seen, they're working 24-hour shifts.
Yeah.
So there is no end of day.
So one of the things that I was perplexed about was, like, you still had the budget meeting, you had the budget, you passed the budget, and but your expectation is that people should still pay their taxes, like even on houses that are useless now, right?
So
how does that work?
So and interesting question, because my mind is just reeling, and I'm thinking, how do we pass a budget?
Right.
But statutorily, we were running without a budget at the end of September.
Right.
So when this emergency went to effect, we are statutorily regulated to pass a budget. So we got the emergency order for 7 days, and we just had to go in and pass a budget. So we were in compliance.
Right.
That budget, the amendments on that budget, look, with Charlie, I know areas had 0 tax valuation on their properties. So what we are looking at,
It'll impact
I don't
your budget.
even know it's going to, well, when you get to the island, you'll see that. But it absolutely will. But we had to do it, and then you just amend it.
So is your expectation that the feds are going to step in, or the state is going to step in and write some checks to so you can operate as a municipality? I mean, you're going to need that kind of money to run.
We are going to need substantial funds from both the state level and the federal level. And we'll, right now we're working on the bridge. So you got to take one piece at a time. But no, our city managers and our deputy city manager, Steve Chapel, our city attorney, they're working ahead, as are our representatives, our leadership, Senate, our state leadership at the governor's office. And, we're getting, the federal level, we're starting to get information as well. Byron Donalds has been just amazing. We got the extension from 30 days to 60 days on the FEMA reimbursements. We are, both the president and the governor worked on that together. Now, Michael had 60 days. we so surpass Michael.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
We're still shooting for 120 days.
And
Right.
FEMA, when you say that, what is that money for? The
That
FEMA
means
money.
reimbursement money,
To who?
100% reimbursement money to the municipalities.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh,
For
okay.
everything. And
So-
that's huge, but we need it doubled. And that's the
Right.
push we're getting out. And the president hinted at there could be more. I'm going to hang on to that
Yeah.
because there's no way looking at the impact, not only for Sanibel, Southwest
right,
Florida,
right,
through
right, right.
Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, this storm, massive impact.
Were there a lot of structures that were totally flattened?
Yes. On the, a lot's a relative term. On the Gulf side, West Gulf, Middle Gulf, East Gulf, there were structures that have been displaced.
Mhm.
There are structures that it's my understanding that have been moved from their foundations.
Mhm.
So our building director, who by the way started yesterday.
Oh boy.
Wow.
We did a tour with him and I could not be more impressed. I learned so much. They're going to go into every structure and assess it as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I was lucky enough to go up in a helicopter and get a bird's eye view. And I was shocked to see when you're looking down, you see the structures that are there. You don't see the ones that aren't there anymore. So it gives you a false, I think, sense like, okay, one, the building is there. But the other thing is until you get on the ground level, you don't realize that, yeah, the building is there, but the inside of it is demolished. So it is a different look. You really have to be on the ground to really see the full impact of the devastation that this storm, did to all of the areas.
You do. And we were all relying on NOAA. We got
Right.
and that was it's such an asset.
Mhm.
And I'm looking down on my house. I'm like, wow, not that bad.
Right.
And everyone looking down, not that bad. And when I saw, the governor on Tuesday when he was at Lakes Park and I sat and I talked to him and I said,
Yeah.
the videos, everything, you will not know until you get out there and see it. And the next, that night I get a call saying, we're going to meet you here. We're going to go assess. And he said, you're right. And in the news briefings, he said, unless you're there,
Yeah.
you just do not understand the magnitude of what's ahead of us.
Give us a feel for how the residents are responding and reacting to you and to the council and to Dana about how the process is moving along.
I think overall very well with the communication. But time is of the essence. We are on day 10. I say every day what day it is.
Yep.
To see, but to them, we need to get in. We need to let them get into their properties and try to save those properties. So there is a frustration level that I understand.
Mhm.
And I'm talking to my best friends and and I'm saying we have a process, but you know what? They need to get in. They want to get in. So the frustration is high, and
Mhm.
we need to accommodate to save the structures that we can. Because with a hurricane, with mold, you have a window of opportunity, and we want to make sure that they have that window of opportunity. The piling homes, there's areas that there are numerous salvageable homes out there. I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands. I don't know the answer to that. So please don't quote me. But they need to get out. They understand what the complications are. We're all adults.
Right.
We know what we can do. We need to be able to get out there and do it. But we've got to do it safely.
Right.
And we've got to make sure that we are not impeding the other resources that are trying to get out there and get power
Right.
to us.
But you have the confidence in your residents that they're going to stay out of the way. They're
I
going to
do.
do their best to stay
I do.
safe, that the USAR is going to do their job, and they're going to be able to commingle together.
I have the utmost confidence in our residents that they're of what they are able to do, that they're knowledgeable, and that they need to get out there.
How badly damaged was your business community?
Severely damaged. Any of the ground level properties along Periwinkle probably had pretty substantial damage.
Mm.
Again, if you're up higher, then you're in a much better position.
How long will it take to rebuild Sanibel?
We're starting. We started on day 2. But seriously, Ed, it's going to be an extremely long process. I've talked to people, Crowder Golf is our main contractor, and I know them from Irma. And that was because of them coming to one of our properties and staying for a year. And they've called every time the wind blows. And so it's funny that I've had this hat on versus my hotel hat. And they've said, just going up, in the panhandle. 2 years later, that was a community of about 1,200. Ours is much different. It's going to be a very long, slow process, but I'm optimistic that we can get little things opened at a time and our community can start to be alive again sooner rather than later. But long term, I hate to even put a number on it because I don't want the audience to say, but it's going to be a complicated couple of years, I would say.
Yeah.
Easily. And
So the president was here, the governor was here, Byron's always here. Adam Botana has been great. I mean, he's
absolutely, he's calling me almost every day. What can I do? No, and I can tell you, I've gotten calls from everyone. Adam's on the phone with me every day. What can you do? I'm taking boats to Fort Myers. Can I come here? Our reps have been great. Senator Pasadomo, I think there was, she had damage to her home as well. Gian Lombardo, Spencer, they've had substantial damage, but they're all reaching out and saying, what can we do? And I can tell you everyone has. So this is us working together as Southwest Florida to come back together united. We have to.
I guess my question
the
about
county,
the county has been, they've been right out front with the press conferences.
So I just want to let you know, people were saying they're not unified. We're not hearing anything. Look,
who's saying that?
You don't. Well, I'm just saying you don't know the work that's going on behind the scenes to make this machine work. It has got to work together. So the communications between the county and the city of Sanibel, and I can't speak to the other municipalities. I'm sure they'd say the same. We're Southwest Florida.
Right.
And we've got to come back as Southwest
and
Florida.
It's a lot to coordinate. I mean, it's a lot of agencies that are trying to work in concert and do this dance without stepping on each other's toes.
Military operation.
Yeah.
Colonel Booth.
Right.
I mean,
right.
From the Army Corps.
We know Colonel Booth from Water Quality. And he turned around and came 30 minutes. He said, I knew you were here, Mayor. I came to say hello. And I'm like, the EOC's down the street. Where is it? And now they're set up over there. I said, Commissioner Ruane, Commissioner Sandelli, they're over there. And he's like, I'm heading over there. I mean, these people are going to build us back.
Yeah. So the question, the national media is trying to really push this narrative that there wasn't enough notice. I had a Washington Post reporter call me and ask me about the alerts and about the warning. And I said, I knew like Monday night they were going to do a mandatory evacuation on Tuesday because Kevin called and said, hey, I just want to give you the heads up. Tell your audience that unless there's a shift, that we're doing a mandatory evacuation on Tuesday and want you to help get the word out. And I'm sure he was doing that with everybody. So I felt like there was plenty of warning. Like when I went down to Fort Myers Beach on, I think it was Tuesday, the storm was kind of just starting. I was walking around and I went into a few places and I left and there was no traffic. Like there wasn't a rush for people to get off Fort Myers Beach. They were either gone or they were staying.
Right.
And it wouldn't have mattered if you told them a week ago or a week earlier or something.
For those who were going to stay.
They were staying. They were told there was going to be a storm surge, the last storm, and there wasn't. And I think there was some false sense of security for this storm about a storm surge. And then it really was a storm surge of epic proportions this year. But what kind of pushback or feedback or comments are you getting about the early warning?
Oh, I got them. I mean, from the national media. So I started, getting out, getting in front on doing some shows. And by the third show on that day, that's what they were focused on. And I said, stop.
Right.
Stop. We're not going to go back. You want to be part of the solution. We're going to move forward.
Right.
I said, everyone had every opportunity.
Correct.
And we did exactly what we could do. Sunday, we thought it was going someplace else.
Right.
They opened up everything. They got those shelters open. And let's talk about the complacency. No judgment. Because, we have not seen a storm like this.
Right.
Some people are saying it's a 500-year storm. I don't know,
right.
200, 100, whatever it is. when you think about mandatory evacuation, let's think about that. You think barrier islands, right?
Mhm.
You don't think of mainland. You
Right.
really don't. So we never assumed we'd have this huge wall of water on a mainland. And
Right.
that if you look at the floodplains, the red goes all the way up the
Mhm.
Caloosahatchee. It's a difficult thing for people to understand if they're on the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And let's also talk about all of the new people that have come
Right.
on
Right. Everybody's
Right.
been
over the
saying
last
that.
few
Yeah.
years.
Yes.
So it is
It-
so complicated, but we did jointly everything we could do.
Mhm.
And I have basically told them, I'm not having a conversation about what ifs.
Right.
You want to be a Monday
Yeah.
morning
A
quarterback?
right.
Plus-
I'm not your girl.
Plus, they're
Well,
wrong. They're
and-
wrong. There was plenty of warning. They
There-
keep pushing
well,
it, but
and-
they don't want to hear that answer. Our
There
phones
was.
were blowing up
There
with
was.
those warnings.
Right.
That
And
that whole 2-day
and
period.
they get, we know because we've been here a long time, but they got the information out that these things wobble. That is a cone of uncertainty. You cannot judge it on that. You can be outside of the cone. You still need to be watching it. You still need to be wary. You still need to be ready to get the hell out of Dodge, because those things wobble at the last minute.
And many people
And with a
left.
big storm like that, you can't. Charlie was smaller, maybe, whatever, but you can't take a chance with a monster like this.
No, and I'll tell you, many people left probably between 11 at night on Tuesday night
Yeah.
and 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
I know several that said, look, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. It took them that long.
Yep.
And then we knew when the window closed. And it was so hard for me to say, this window's closed when people are texting me, the window's closed. You can't get across the causeway
Right.
now safely.
Mhm.
You got to hunker down. So no, we're not going to go back on
No.
that. There's nothing. I just don't know what could have been done differently. I can speak to my municipality. That's the only one, that's what I'm
Mhm.
representing. And I can tell you the conversations with the county were full
Spot
on,
on. Yep.
well before the storm.
Talk,
Well
t-
before the
talk
storm.
about your city manager, Dana, and the role he's played and the job he's doing.
He's our CEO. That man has been nonstop. And his organization is methodical. His treatment of our employees to him, our family, and they are responding to that. And it is with appreciation. He's been out on the island, a couple times. I've been out several times, but he's up in that office looking at the next step with the core staff. I cannot say enough about how this was handled, how it is being handled, and what I foresee how it will be handled going into the future. Yeah, I'm incredible for a magnitude. Look, people always want to say, what's your playbook beforehand?
Mhm.
You got to have a playbook. Well, you do. You have a minimal, I shouldn't say don't
Not-
take
not
that as
minimal.
minimal. I want to clear that. We have a amazing playbook. But this magnitude of this storm,
Mhm.
it bypasses anything that we've ever seen before.
Do you feel like you need to modify your plan at all for the next one, or have you learned things here? Not criticizing in any way, but things
Well, and I
that, okay,
think
this thing
that-
was so massive,
Right.
we're going to adjust this, adjust that, or
We
do you look
talked
at that
about
after?
that with
You know,
your
I-
benchmarking.
And I think fairly, Ed, we're still, again, day 10. We are in the throes of critical time right now. So we don't, we are looking at what we need to do now, what we need to do next, and next.
Mhm.
And there's going to be a time that we can go back
Mhm.
and look at this and say, okay, where were the glitches? Now's not that time, because we are in full on mode,
Right.
and we are likely going to be for quite some time.
It's a-
We're working every day around the clock. If I got, hey, look, I'm an 8-hour sleeper girl. Me
Right.
living on 3 hours, but we're all so energized and focused on what we need to do. We'll go back and look at that, but right now we got to focus on now.
No, I just didn't know if you wanted to share some of the stories that you were sharing earlier, and especially the poignant one about the future looking forward, for young residents that are looking forward to eventually being adult residents on Sanibel.
Oh, I there are amazing stories. And I think just real briefly, the community is wanting to get back there and rebuild the community. They want to get back. I have had, I got an email from this young man, and I'm not going to say his name because I haven't talked to him yet. 12 years old, and he said, I've been watching the storm, and I'm 12 years old, and my dream is to live on Sanibel one day, and I hope you keep it the way it was. And I'm getting chills.
I'm getting chills.
When I see that.
I'm not getting chills.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, well, we've got a heart, Kim.
That's right.
So,
oh, good one.
I'm sorry, I have to find a little humor these days.
That's absolutely
because
it. Yes.
and then I see that so many of the people that are coming here and saying, what can we do? How can we help? We want to get back. Even people that left, that were in the storm, that said we don't think we can come back. We're hearing, some people that are cores of our community saying, we're going to be a part of it.
Right.
I think people are looking at what we are as a community, because you all know what our community is. We have this giant hearted community that we love our island. We love what it is. And we want to bring it back to what it will be. And so many want to be a part of that and will be a part of that. But the stories are just so heartwarming. I mean, there's a resort on the island and this is a hard story and a great story. Part of their entire resort is gone, but they built another part of their resort not too long ago, a few years back, and it stayed strong. And they're, ready to rebuild, push on. We're going to have our highs and we're going to have a lot of lows, and we got to hold on to those highs. We've got to realize that the lows are going to go pretty low, and we've got to really be able to address it and then try to build our way up. I've had them, I'm going to have them all the time. I'm shedding a lot of tears because it's tough seeing what we see, but it's empowering. When I see that bridge being worked on, when I get out there and I see our staff and all those agencies that are out there, what can we do next? What can we do next? We know we're going to do it. And we know we're going to do it.
It seems like your top priority now is to get people back to their houses. Is that what it is?
Well, our top priority, of course, is safety for the island. Safety, getting them back there safely. But yes, our residents need to be able to get back and look at their homes and start to take stock of what they need to do. Transportation, that's the hardest thing.
Do you need bikes? Do you need donated bikes or something? Or
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll let you know offline. We are allowing no motorized vehicles.
Sure.
Right now.
Right.
We can't. So that's really difficult, because you have people, you pick up a bike and we're not, there's not a taxi service. You're able to be dropped off wherever you want to be on the island, with your pass. Okay. With your pass.
Yeah.
And then you've got to get to your property.
Right.
I mean, those are the logistics of things we need to start working on.
Right.
And we already are. There's the brain pool is already saying, okay, what next? Boating access has been extremely difficult. So many of the public boat ramps, I think all, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me, but a majority of them, if not all, are under Lee County, and those are being used for getting all of the services and assets out there. It's a back and forth, but it would be really helpful if we had an access that some of these people, captains, that are taking people over. And I want to remind people, be careful of scams. They're out there.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. So be careful of that. Make sure that if you're getting on a boat with someone, hey, if it's your friend's boat and they want to take you over, that's great. But if someone is asking for payment, just be very careful that you vetted them for liability, for insurance, because we're hearing bad stories about that.
That's a shame.
And we want people to get out there. They've got to do it by boat. It would be great if we could find a closer access point, because the water, the debris in the water is the Coast Guard, I think is doing something over the water right now, that we're being very cautious of people getting around, because that debris is very dangerous.
Right.
So if we can get access closer to the island that people can get, then it's a much easier across.
Fort Myers Beach was a car cemetery. I don't think a single car survived. Was it the same way on Sanibel? No cars?
It's interesting. I think there are pockets where there are vehicles that are drivable.
Yeah.
Really?
But
Wow.
there are, I believe, up in the West End, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And again, don't quote me.
Right. Right.
But a lot of the cars, East End, Middle, if they were in the property, then they were
Yeah.
underwater for hours. So there's cars all over.
Yeah.
Have you heard how Ding Darling fared and how Crow and some of those, the
Well,
National
yeah.
Seashell Museum?
So I can say it 3 times fast.
Nope.
So with Crow, I know that they were able to evacuate. I know that very
Saw that.
well because I know where they were safely
Oh, good.
evacuated to. So I got to see a
Are
lot
there
of
animals around here?
They're
No.
they're not here, but I was able to go and see those critters and make sure that they were okay. So though they have a contract with a hotel in town
Interesting.
that
Everybody's prepared for
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
that they go to. They've got
Mhm.
those rooms available every year. The Shell Museum, I haven't been in. It's my understanding that potentially the lower level it
Under-
was had some issues. The school. So let's talk about
Yeah,
the school
yeah.
a little bit. The superintendent, new superintendent, Chris
Mhm.
Bernier, welcome to Florida,
Right,
Dr.
right, right.
Bernier, and he's amazing. He was helicoptered in with Jamie Reed, who was our principal. They did an assessment of the school. There is damage, there is damage to the school. What they are looking to do, and I haven't spoken to him for several days, but when I saw him, he said what they are looking at learning for the kids in the school and keeping them together, which is vitally important wherever that learning takes place. Remember after Charlie, or when the
Right.
school was being built, we had plenty of pods all over.
Right.
So what they're committed to do is keeping those kids together. Ding Darling, SCCF, they have been out there. So these guys, they weren't part of our cleanup, but they answered the call.
Right.
Everybody that could be out there on their properties, SCCF was giving. We didn't have a lot of vehicles out there. We took several of them, most of the police cars off. Our public works department, that was dry up in that
Wow,
area.
yeah.
So we had a lot of assets there. So everybody's come together. SCCF's trucks, Ding Darling is working on their area, but then they came in and, hands on deck to help us in any way they could. The
Collaboration.
sense of community and
yeah.
collaboration before anybody else got out there is just, I can't say enough about it. I really can't. And it's so humbling.
We're running out of time. We have 3 minutes left. So what is your message to the residents of Sanibel and the residents of Fort Myers Beach?
We're basically, we're combined. We are one location. We are where the world loves to come and visit. We're going to work together. We're going to come back. It's going to be a long time to come back, but we're going to do it. I know that there's a grit and determination of all the leadership to do that. And we have to. We are Southwest Florida. We are so strong. To our residents, stay tuned on everything. Listen to our Facebook Lives. Go on to our My Sanibel Facebook. If you've got questions, send us to us. Sign up for the alerts, www.mysanibel.com. If you haven't yet, that's a huge resource. We're going to make those resources available. We're going to give you the information as soon as we can, what we can on what to do next. And we're there for everybody. We just, we're going to come back. Sanibel's my home. I'm a Sanibelian, period. And we're just going to work together. It sounds so sappy, but it's what we all mean. And this isn't me. This is all of our council. Our council has been, Richard, Mike, John, Scott, they're doing things every day for this community. So because you might not see them, know that everybody is fully committed. Our staff has been phenomenal. So, tough days ahead, but we're going to see a lot of lights, hearts break, hearts get mended, and we're going to be on that road together.
Any final thoughts or questions,
No,
wife?
I think we're good.
Well, Holly Smith, thank you so much. We
so
appreciate
much.
your time. That hour flew by, and we
It
look
sure
forward to
did.
watching your Facebook Lives 5 o'clock or
5 o'clock. We'll
5
let you know
o'clock.
if it changes. And I
Okay.
just want to thank you guys because thanks for getting it out there
Oh,
and bringing
absolutely.
it to the forefront. And I know you'll continue to do that. Let us know how we can help you as well, because we got to help each other.
And we look forward to getting back out there soon.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mayor
Thanks.
Holly Smith, everybody, a round of applause at your house. And we will see you. We're going to head back down to the beach for a press conference at 11:30 with the fire chief. So we will bring it to you live or on tape. Bye-bye.